You start becoming powerful the moment you stop needing emotional confirmation from anyone. And that shift is so subtle, most people never catch the moment it happens inside them. There is a point in your evolution where you realize the world never respected your warmth. It only exploited it, fed on it, siphoned from it like emotional parasitic attachment. You were more useful to others when you were confused, reactive, invested, anxious, over-explaining and over-proving yourself. The moment you stop over-explaining yourself, the moment you stop needing to justify your decisions, the moment you stop responding on command, people begin losing access to the easy version of you they were used to. The cold man is not emotionless, he is emotion-governed. He still feels everything, but nothing external dictates his internal movement anymore. He knows how to separate the primal surge of reaction from the strategic discipline of response. You begin to process reality like a chess player instead of a child trying to avoid abandonment. You stop acting through fear and start acting through authority. And this is where people begin to misunderstand you. They call you distant, detached, closed off, cold-hearted. They call you arrogant, mean, nonchalant, too quiet, too calm. They don't understand that your silence is not a wound. Your silence is a weapon. You are no longer broadcasting your emotional coordinates to be tracked, decoded, predicted, or manipulated. They no longer get the free privilege of knowing what you think or how you feel about situations unless you choose to reveal it. And the less they know, the more power you carry. You begin to notice how predictable the average person is. Most people react impulsively, emotionally, without awareness of the hidden psychological price they pay every time they let the world dictate their mood. They panic when ignored. They crumble when affection is withdrawn. They chase closure from people who never even earned honesty from them. You were once this. You once allowed emotional intensity to override strategy. You once argued just to feel seen, defended yourself just to feel understood, chased connection just to avoid internal void. But now you realize the deeper truth. The world does not reward warmth. The world rewards leverage, position, poise, self-restriction, and the refusal to be rushed into emotional decisions. When you detach, you begin to see how the warm man becomes prey. He reveals his fears. He reveals his insecurities. He reveals his desperation. He reveals the things he thinks will make people like him, and instead those confessions become ammunition to be used against him. Warm men get devoured in psychological warfare because they fight for emotional peace in a world that weaponizes emotion. The cold man doesn't fight to be understood. The cold man lets misunderstanding become a barrier of protection. The cold man lets mystery do the intimidation that words never could. You learn to use space like a blade. You learn that withholding reaction is more threatening than any insult. You learn that walking away is more devastating than any argument. You learn that the scarcity of your attention creates more gravity than constant access ever could. Anyone can speak. Few can shut up. Anyone can express. Few can restrain. Anyone can beg for closure. Few can weaponize the unknown. And when you enter detachment at this level, everything changes. Because you stop depending on outcome. You stop needing people to pick you, chase you, validate you, glorify you, or rescue you. The cold man is not heartless. He is sovereign. His worth is decided internally, not auctioned in emotional marketplaces. And because he cannot be emotionally purchased, he becomes priceless. This is what unnerves people. They can't figure out what lever controls you. They can't figure out what bait tempts you. They can't figure out how to destabilize your mental state. You become unpredictable in the most disciplined way possible, and the world begins to orbit around your frame, not the other way around. This is the first stage of becoming untouchable, when emotional distance becomes the architecture for psychological dominance. What if everything you chase is what's weakening you? What if pleasure isn't reward, but a trap? And what if desire itself was the enemy all along? Death of desire, the Stoic's path to cold clarity. This is not a guide. This is not self-help. This is war. Kill the need. Master the mind. You become dangerous when you master the art of being selectively reachable. Because once you train your nervous system to not flinch, not react, not respond to provocation or temptation, you start controlling the psychological frame of every room you enter. Detachment turns you into the man who forces others to reveal their intentions before you ever reveal yours. You give nothing first. You let others show their hunger first. You let the world expose itself to you naked, emotionally unguarded, insecure, anxious to gain your attention or pull you into emotional battle. And you stand still, grounded, unshaken, while they tremble at the possibility that you might not choose them back. This is the purest form of dominance, because dominance is not how loud you speak or how intensely you feel. Dominance is how little the world can move you. You only engage on your terms. You only reveal when it benefits you strategically. You only react when the reaction works in your favor. And the slower you are to respond, the more power you hold over the impatient. Detachment forces people to chase clarity from you while you never chase clarity from them. That is the reversal. That is the leverage. The warm man spends his life trying to convince people to believe him, trying to prove worthiness, trying to defend his stance and justify his decisions. The cold man lets time prove his decisions correct. The cold man lets silence prove his accuracy. The cold man lets distance expose who is real versus who is simply addicted to attention. Most people cannot psychologically endure not knowing where they stand. Most crumble under ambiguity. You weaponize ambiguity. You don't need to control people directly. People self-destruct trying to decode you. They start imagining alternate outcomes. They start building stories in their head. They start projecting desires and fears onto you because you refuse to tell them what role they actually play in your life. That imagination becomes your indirect leverage because people fear losing someone who is not easily understood. But even more, they fear losing someone who does not need them. Building this cold mindset is a consistent alchemical process. You condition yourself to delay gratification, not because you're afraid of pleasure, but because you refuse to let pleasure dictate your identity. Sexual discipline becomes part of this, because lust is the oldest trap in the human playbook. The moment you can observe sexual urge without submitting to it, you become a man who no longer sacrifices long-term power for short-term sensation. Same with anger, same with jealousy, same with validation. Detachment becomes the armor that shields your strategic mind from being hijacked by impulse. You begin to see that the world is run by men who are able to remain calm in storms that make everyone else panic. You realize that control is not the act of dominating others. Control is the ability to dominate yourself so completely that no one else can manipulate your internal state. Cold is not laziness. Cold is not absence. Cold is not surrender. Cold is tactical conservation. You do not waste emotional fuel on arenas where the outcome gives you nothing back. You do not invest presence in people who have not proven value. You do not open your vulnerabilities to anyone who hasn't shown they can handle the weight of your inner world. You become ruthless with access, because you learned the hard way that access is the most expensive currency a man will ever have. When you detach, you stop chasing results and start attracting outcomes. People now fear disappointing you. They fear losing you. They fear no longer existing inside your perception. And this creates an inverted power economy where the world does the work to remain tied to you, while you remain centered in purpose, mission, internal equilibrium. The final form of the cold man is when your stillness becomes terrifying, when your emotional neutrality becomes the battlefield others lose on, when your silence forces others to reveal their true motives faster than any interrogation could. You become untouchable because you no longer live in reaction. You live in direction. You choose when to engage. You choose what to give energy to. You choose what is worth breaking silence for. That is the highest frame. That is dominance through detachment. That is the psychological posture of a man who cannot be manipulated, controlled, guilted, seduced, or emotionally coerced by society. You do not win because you fight harder. You win because you choose when the fight even happens. You win because you don't play the emotional games others think they need to win. You become the ghost in the battlefield. Impossible to predict, impossible to trigger, impossible to invade. And when the world finally understands they cannot disturb your equilibrium, even they bow to the sovereignty of your silence. Thus remember, we are Indeceptor. You're not lazy, you're hijacked. Every scroll designed to keep you docile, addicted, and distracted. Dopamine warfare, reclaiming the mind. This isn't just about quitting porn or deleting apps. This is about taking back command of your nervous system, your focus, your fire. The Crusaders Bundle. 4 ruthless lessons. 1 unbreakable code. For a limited time, claim all 4 Indeceptor audiobooks for the price of 3. Step inside the private archive of discipline, power, and psychological warfare, where lust is conquered, the mind is weaponized, and legacy is forged. Don't just listen. Arm yourself. Indeceptions.com